199 Cooper's Neck Lane, construct 1- and 2-story additions, exterior alterations, accessory greenhouse, and driveway gates.
Hello, how are you?
Your name, sir?
My name is Pete D. Pasquale. I'm an architect. I'm representing the owner. Yeah, it's Peter D. Pasquale. D-E-P-A-S-Q-U-A-L-E. These are the affidavit of mailing and posting. When we submitted about a month ago, we included 2 large format copies and 6 of these 11 by 17.
Oh, did they bring those? Oh, yeah, they did. Good.
Can we have those little ones? Yeah, they have the dead.
Please. Well, I don't have the folder, so just
Here's the folder.
put them in the folder.
Oh. Wait, don't take all that out. This is pretty well. These folders. Okay.
Great.
And then within the submission, we included a lot of information on the design and property. But if it's okay, I'd like to share a little bit about the relevant experience of our team. Would that be okay?
We want to,
We
but
just
I
want
don't think it's
to, we want
necessary.
to, we'd like to know about the building, sir.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, great.
Zach, do you want this?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's interesting, but it's a late evening. We just really have to do our job.
Sure.
How's that?
I only want to do if it helps.
And this is a complicated application also. Shoot.
So this house has a long and sort of twisted history. First built in 1910. Over the course of time since then, half of the original house was torn down. An addition was added. If you look on sheet 060, you can see the base, original house here. The house had an L configuration that was torn down. An addition was added, which basically the owner wanted to use this house in tandem with their family, but to live separately from them. So the house was effectively turned into a duplex.
Say that one more time?
It was turned into a 2-family home, or the configuration was such that it was a 2-family home.
He wanted his kids to live with him.
The grandchildren
With him, but not
far
really with
away.
I completely understand
Yeah,
that.
right, they want some peace and quiet.
Rarely achieved.
Probably wasn't.
So, in terms of the spirit and intent of the original house as it was built, it was radically altered when it went from an L configuration into this linear piece here. There is, some crude garage doors here on the north as part of the later addition. The windows do not really match in terms of the size and spirit of the existing base building. So the aspiration of our scheme was to maintain the roof lines, almost all of the windows, the brick cladding of the original base building, but to incrementally make some improvements to make this feel more like one building again as opposed to a 2-family. In addition to that, because the building has low ceilings, it does not have a basement, it has a short attic, we're proposing 2 additions to provide more contemporary amenities, to provide a little bit more light and spaciousness in the house compared to the sort of cloistered interior. We're hoping to make the new not as cloistered, but the sort of bones of the building suggest a very sort of chopped up interior, even compared to contemporary works of the original architect. We'd like to add these 2 pieces, what we're calling the solarium and the garage. We're trying to make them look like site amenities or pieces that are part of the landscape so as to distinguish themselves from the spirit of the existing buildings. The solarium is a glass structure, the lead-coated copper roof, intended to blend into the landscape. We intend to create a garden around the house and to use heavy plantings around this building to virtually hide it within plantings and to have attention paid to the original base. On this side, we're proposing a garage with this.
Could I just ask you to use
Sure.
east, west, north, south?
Sure thing.
Thank you very much.
North is towards me.
Yep.
So I'm showing the drawings to you.
Now, just for the
from
record,
the
when
bottom
you say
page.
this side, if you could say the west side.
Sure.
It helps the video.
Yep.
Thank you.
So to the south of the 1989 addition is a proposed garage with 2 bedrooms over it. This is going to be a cedar board, vertical cedar board cladding with a lead-coated copper shingle roof. We wanted to take some of the characters, the minor characters of the existing building, use them to create some sympathy to the existing, but not try to have there be any confusion as to what the original historically significant building is versus the new discrete additions.
What is the roof material on the existing house?
It's cedar shingles.
Oh, it's cedar shingles?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what it was.
I likely was
Probably
not.
clay
The
tile.
only, likely, looking at sort of contemporary works of
Yeah.
architecture. I mean, to us, in looking at the significance of the house to us, the roof is an incredibly important character. The sort of idiosyncrasy of the windows and the different elevations of the gutters. We really said that we wanted to keep our hands off of the roof, the gutters, and almost all of the windows. We really wanted to use a surgical approach to how we touch the existing.
I'm just wondering, why did you select vertical forward for the 2 additions? No, I mean, the concept, which the board very much supports, I'm sure, is making those new structures look distinctly different from what's there.
It's just the one addition, right? The
Well,
garage.
there's 2.
No, there are
There's
two
one-
additions.
Two separate buildings,
One is a
detached.
metal and glass addition.
The other one's-
And the other is cedar with a metal roof.
That's what I'm saying. The cedar's only on the garage.
It's only
That's
the
right.
garage. Okay, now, okay. Oh, that's the sort of the see-through.
Yeah, and for us, the garage piece is intended to be, a backdrop to, in service to the
Oh, I see it
landscape.
here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the solarium.
And the change of windows in order to accommodate the,
So what we're doing in order was a 30-inch discrepancy between the floor plate, the first floor plate of the existing, the original structure and the addition. So what we want to do is effectively split the difference where we raise the lower floor and take down the taller one. And so what that would require is us, rather than just taking the windows down all the way with the, with that floor shift on the base building, really just these windows at the living room, as we're calling it, here on the south elevation, of which we have no historic documentation. We're taking the windows down here 12 inches, creating all the
Lowering
same.
the floor there.
We're lowering the floor there 16, but we just want to take the window sills down 12.
and that, but that is the original.
It is.
Building.
Yep, it is. I mean, to us, and, it's been a challenging project to take on, and it's been an incremental progress, sort of unpeeling, a big, in terms of design, unpeeling what's there. But to us, I think part of the reason that this building has sat empty for 4 years, that schism existed. So for us, it was important to strike that floor plate and then adjust those select openings and then throw it away.
Can you show us from the front elevations? I see you showing it from the roof, from,
Sure thing.
show us some of the actual physical elevations so that we can see.
These are the elevations for reference.
You can tell us what page you're on so we can see.
Sure. So page A081 has photos. Sheets A200 and 201 show the scope of the changes we're making to the facade.
Yes.
It shows the places where we're intervening or altering the facade
You want to start at
over
200?
the
You want to
existing.
start at 200 and then we'll go over to 201?
Sure thing. On 8200, as we move from the east end of the building over, this is drawing 1 on the bottom of the page.
Okay.
And even as I say, this is an incremental project as we begin to understand this. The area where I'm pointing here at one point, we believe was a sunroom, as suggested by the one photograph, the one historic photograph that we have. As we have, gotten further into the project, and since we submitted these drawings, we've actually decided not to alter these windows at all. We are going to replace the windows that are there with new windows. The front entrance, there were 2 steps up to a front door, and we're going to eliminate those 2 steps.
What about above, going back, this green shadowed area there?
Yes, so this also was we believe originally a sun porch.
Okay.
And so these windows were added at some point. We don't know when. They're not in the spirit of the building. This large fixed picture window doesn't really make any sense contextually. And so you can see on sheet A210, we're introducing a number of windows there to make it in better relationship to the existing dormers on other pieces of the building, both on the north and the south.
All right. So you're adding sashes.
Yes.
That's your,
Yeah, and divided lights, simulated divided lights.
Yeah, that looks better.
As we move to the west, you can see where that garage was and the drop in grade. We're reconfiguring that such that it becomes a series of glass doors to step out to a garden to the north. You go one over from there, and there's a service door, which we'll continue to use as a service door, but we're lowering the bottom of it. On the east elevation, we're introducing the solarium.
What page?
Also,
Let's see that, yeah, these are marked east.
so this is the site plan and sheet A070.
okay. Let's see the east elevation.
Yeah, the east elevation is right here. This is going to be an opening that we alter on this end of the building in order to create a portal to go to this addition.
Where is, so where, this is really helpful. We can see what exists, what you're changing, and to compare it to what's being proposed.
Sure.
So if we start here with the existing, what page would I be able to see the proposed?
Page A210,
Okay, here we go.
drawing 2. We removed the solarium addition just for clarity to show how we're going to be altering the opening.
So you changed the doorway, the French doorway to windows.
No, this is a window similar to the one next to it, which is going to be converted into a doorway.
The A200 at the top.
At the top, 210.
Yeah, the red.
I'm looking at the
Oh.
existing, A200 shows existing, shaded in red as a
Well,
window.
wait a minute. A201, is that east elevation, correct?
No,
No.
No.
A200.
There you go.
Is existing.
Got it. There we go.
It's existing, so it shows
There
2
we go.
windows. The southern of the 2 is going to be removed, and the rough opening is going to be used as an opening to access
To get in.
the solarium.
But
See
you're
how it can
leaving
get
the
confusing?
Opening in masonry as is.
That's right.
You're just taking that out and leaving.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the extent of the work on the north and the east.
But the wind, excuse me, go on.
Okay. There are about 120 unique openings, so it's like I'm trying my best to walk you guys through it. As we shift to the south side, this is where we are.
And where will we see the proposed? Which page?
A201, oh, A201 is
A201
existing,
existing.
and A211 is going to be
A211.
proposed.
That's right.
See.
As we start from the east, where we were before on the solarium addition,
Okay, so here's the.
the doors that accessed what was a non-historic terrace that was there. We proposed bringing the doors down 16 inches, 4 courses of brick, and recreating the sill detail that's there. And then for the windows, we would drop those just 12 inches in order to keep the size and shape of the divided lights, We would just be converting what is a 6/6 composition into a 6/9.
So, okay, one more time?
Sure. So the doors, we're
Yes.
going to drop down the full 16 inches.
Okay.
Course out with the existing brick on the facade. The windows, we're going to drop the sill 12
Okay,
inches.
See it, see it.
To
Get
make them
another
make
row
more
of
sense, the adjustment of the interior, but without going all the way to 16 inches, which will start to stretch the proportions we think more than we
Before
need to.
that, you're doing away with that series of windows that are in the middle, pretty much the middle.
That's right. So as we move towards the west
Yes.
from that area, where we're adjusting openings on the existing, as part of the 1989 addition, this gallery was created to navigate the level change from this garage to the existing house. And they built a glazed hallway on the outside of the existing facade.
Okay.
So we're proposing removing that to show the original dining room facade. You know, so that's the scope here and here. You know.
I have a problem with the foot removing a foot of the original window and the creation of 6/9 lights, because that's basically it's a major alteration to the existing fabric that has existed all those years. And I think that the window-to-wall ratio will be changed. I don't have a problem with the doorways because you're putting back the existing sills, and it doesn't radically change the material. And I wonder what the historic consultant thinks about that.
Well, I'm sort of looking at the totality of what's happening here, and I agree with you, they will look different. I'm kind of curious, this is a rather modern interpretation of sash windows with that extra transom
Yes.
roll. And I'm wondering if that's really original, because this is our friend Amar Embry.
Right. No, it's
Was it?
Atterbury, Grosvenor.
Atterbury,
It's Grosvenor Atterbury.
That doesn't look very 1913-ish to me.
Well, we've got-
These
I'm just
openings-
wondering if those windows really are.
These openings have been replaced, we don't know how many times. They don't all seem to be the same.
Yeah.
So we don't know, we're not entirely sure at what point, say, these doors or these picture windows were replaced.
That just looks like I mean, it's an interesting aesthetic. It's what's being designed now, and it oftentimes makes, when you want 11-foot ceilings instead of 8, for example, you need bigger windows. So that's a way of doing it now. It's a new take on an old window. But seeing it here in this existing 1913 section doesn't seem quite convincing, as if they'd already been changed.
Altered.
I don't know. So I'm not quite sure what we're trying to preserve if disturbing those windows.
It's
Are they
the
trying-
masonry, it's a Lamy
The masonry.
masonry.
Are they trying to
Cutting down through the
preserve,
masonry.
Yeah.
are they trying to preserve, or are they trying to just kind of clean up the mess that happened prior? I mean,
Well,
is
generally
it the
speaking, I
intent
think
of the
that's what's
applicant to go
happening.
back to
Yeah.
original?
I mean, the entire interior of this building was demolished.
Yes.
There was nothing left. It's stick frame, open. You can see from one end to the
So
other.
this can't be really defined as a
So I
restoration?
believe it's a rehabilitation, not a preservation.
No, but the
The
original
exterior.
Lamy brick, the
Yes.
masonry is still intact
Okay.
now. And that's what I'm objecting to, is the removal
That's
of,
certainly a valid point. I'm
of
just
foot.
weighing the
Of foot.
total impact of what you're doing, which is preserving, the original
the outside.
massing, plus the 1989 edition, which is rather aggressive, but still was built to be compatible. So there's a lot of windows. The scope of this is kind of overwhelming. And so,
You think?
yeah, so I think there might be a few bumps in the road here, but overall, I think you're working with what you have. There might be a few exceptions there, but I think generally speaking, I'm just trying to trouble, I keep getting back to that wooden garage, and why I keep harping on that is, this is a really, really large, beautifully detailed brick house. with these jerkin head roof things happening and all sorts of little decorative dormers and a lot going on. That wooden garage just seems
Out of place.
Like it
like out of place.
dropped in from nowhere.
Yeah.
I agree. What's it doing
There's
there?
just something quite simple and plain and not bold about it, the way the house is. And I'm just wondering what you can do with that. Maybe
It's
it needs
also
to be
the salt
stucco,
box.
Maybe it needs to be, I'm not sure.
The salt
but-
box form to me is an interesting choice.
Well, it picks up on a sort of a strange salt box profile in that
Yes.
89 edition.
Except that it's got different roof pitches, and they face the other way, the salt box goes the other way.
Well, it doesn't quite stand up, in terms of materials, just visually, for me, it doesn't quite stand up to the masonry
Right.
house.
It seems too pedestrian, almost, the materials, don't you
Not you
think?
want
Not-
to build it in brick because you want it to be different?
Yeah, we felt like
It should drop out.
just having, I mean, this is a very long building. The
Yeah.
plan, the organization is relentless, and it felt like just adding more brick.
But what,
It was just, we'd only be doing that because there's already brick there,
Of course,
not because
which
it's
is,
the best
I
decision.
guess, would be the obvious solution, and you don't want to be obvious, so.
but
But I'm not sure what else you could do.
I think it has a kind of, it's kind of sleek and attention-getting. I don't know how else to describe it, and I don't
That's not a
actually
good
think
thing,
that's a
though.
good
It's not
idea.
always a good thing.
I understand for reasons that this is a new building, that you need to distinguish it from what you're rehabilitating theoretically.
But, I mean, it's not only the material, it's the roof line, it's the windows. It's literally a separate building that in some manner, some way you're trying to introduce and have it tie. It just,
It's
I don't-
too strange.
Material-wise,
it's an outlier,
was
literally.
thinking
Yeah.
half timbering might, because this 1910, 15, sort of gets this Tudor thing going on. That half timbering, which is like bold, sort of wooden elements with
And
plaster
stucco.
panels, maybe that would be an material aesthetic that would be more compatible with the period of the house, the aesthetic that's there. I'm just thinking the material thing just seems a little lightweight compared to the
that's a good point.
masonry.
There's
A
something,
little more stronger.
right,
in the
it just
material.
doesn't seem to be, it doesn't seem to belong there in any way.
Whereas the solarium is a glass house.
Right,
and
that's fine, that's like a rich
Right.
people's
That's sort of-
thing, that's cool.
Is
looks
that
like what it is.
Kelvar or is that glass?
This is, it's glass on
It's
all
glass.
faces with the metal roof.
I think the rest of it looks amazing.
Is there a glass wall connecting the garage to the,
There is.
okay.
That I
One
could do
single
without.
glass wall or a breezeway?
It's
Single?
glass on both
Both
sides.
sides, on each side of a walkway. Okay.
Yeah, with the idea that you feel some passage through this garden that's the buffer between the house and the addition.
So, how are we doing there, Jeff?
I just had a quick question.
What I was going to say, for the sake of being repetitive, I could repeat everything you just said, but I do have an issue with the garage. It seems, you have this brick Tudor place that is, the addition of a wing coming out that way may create a nice courtyard feel, but then you have something that looks like it was more of suburban contemporary
Yeah.
garage. And I think I recognize what you're trying to do to make it distinctive, but on the other hand, I think you're then losing the impressive nature of this brick house that has a Tudor feel to it, and whether it's stucco and timber or all brick, I think it could be more conducive and complementary to the rest of the house.
And I understand that. I do have the question, just a clarification. Is it obligated to feel historical in nature at that?
No,
No.
Okay.
absolutely
Okay. Just
not.
wanna make sure.
Probably shouldn't
Should not.
necessarily.
Okay, I just want
I
to,
think
So the idea, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. It is that it should be separate and distinct, that you're not
Yes.
mimicking anything.
Right.
But for some reason, I think most of us feel the style of it doesn't fit in, period. Is that right? And the materials, there's some issue.
I think we definitely don't want it to try to look like it was original or but I think it's a matter of having, I think Zach's idea is an interesting one for you to explore with the clients, of something that is maybe a half timber stucco combination or other materials that are distinct from the brick to relieve
well,
us from the.
the great thing I think that can do is introduce a scale to this building that, speaks to some of the pieces of the house without being literal. So that's something we'll look at.
Go ahead.
And I think, I'm not too friendly to the glass connector. I think that really is somehow inappropriate on this property. That you've done to me, a beautiful job on the house. They had some kind of meet and greeter. They were trying to sell it, and I went, they had like cheeseburgers and stuff. And, no, it was fancy. And I was in.
Fancy cheeseburger.
No, they were. I was inside after they'd stripped everything out, and it was really an impressive structure. And actually, I walked around outside, and the way it sits on the land, the whole thing. So I'm happy that someone's going to try to fix it, because it was like camping. But somehow, I don't think there should be a glass anything coming off the main structure to
Question.
the next
I
building.
just think you won't see it.
A221.
A221.
A221. The material that's being used, like as paneling between the windows on the top shed dormers, the doorway, which is echoed in that kind of window fixture, all of it, what is that all, is that stuff
No, so this is painted wood.
painted wood?
This is an
There you go.
This is
So what I'm saying is that there's something to tie in there.
yeah.
Like, not,
Sure.
Well, there's some other painted wood, I think, around the
but they're all,
store.
what I'm saying is it's all the same.
Yeah, I think so.
If you're looking for something, not necessarily that ties in terms of design, but at least doesn't look like it's so
Stuffed in
foreign there
somewhere.
now, yes.
It was an attempt to sympathize with the massive roof, but I also understand your comments completely.
Big.
So I share Susan's concern about the glass in concept. I would also just note, when you look at the site plan, it's probably not visible.
If it's not
From
visible,
almost
I wouldn't be
anywhere.
so down on it.
I think you're not, it's so far away from Cooper's Neck, and it's behind the garage from Meadowmere, so I don't think you're going to see it.
It's just too bad to hook something up to that nice building.
I feel the same way.
When we approach the garage itself, we may find that some other way of connecting
That
to
light.
the house.
Is there, I didn't look at the site plan. The garage is placed somewhat to the side and behind, is that correct?
That's right.
It's to the north?
It's to the south
To the
of
south.
the existing house
Yeah,
and
you'll
to the
see it.
west.
So, yeah, you could see it in one of these. All right, well, I think we have to
In the back.
rework the garage and maybe rethink that glass, I don't know.
The glass
You can
connector
tell-
to the garage.
Yeah, it's like, here you have this amazing building, and then suddenly you've got a little table that's hooked up to a wooden structure that just doesn't seem to belong there, I think. Are there any comments from the public?
I had a couple clarifying questions. I heard reference to 6/9s, but I think people mean 6/6s.
No.
With a transom on
The
top.
existing, if we look on sheet A201,
Yeah. Or
where we're in our
6/6s.
living room, these are 6/6/6s. This is where we're proposing dropping the sill by 12 inches and making the lower sash.
Okay, so the
a 3x3.
rendering has 6/6s, though, of A211.
That is an error.
Okay, that's
That's an error.
where I was confused. Okay, so that just goes down one course of,
No,
not two?
it's 12 inches.
Four courses of brick. One, we're dropping it one full light, window light.
One window light. So the rendering that shows 6/6s with a transom is wrong.
That's right.
It's a 6/,
6/9.
How's
is
that?
it?
How can that be?
That's what he said.
Yeah, it would be actually more similar in configuration to what you see on the diagram.
With just one
on sheet
more
A201.
course of windows, one more
Right,
course
the
of
lower
panes.
sash would be taller.
Thank you. Okay. You mentioned the wall that used to be on the south side. Do you know when that, you said it wasn't original, I believe.
That was part of this 1989 addition. That's the west wing of the house.
Okay.
They basically used that as really a
ramp.
Band-Aid
Okay,
because it was really hard to figure out once they were putting that thing against the other.
got it. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, my only concern, we've just hit it, it's the materials and the salt box architecture on the garage. Something feels underwhelming, and I like the idea that it's a different material and a different rhythm, and that it's not trying to compete with, but no more to say. Now, maybe comments from the public. if anyone.
Any comments from the public? No. So, do do you think you could, it's pretty close in timing here to the next meeting, believe it or not, since we've had these huge lapses, which I understand. And the problem would be that after December 9th, I think the next meeting is January something, 11, 14?
13, maybe.
13. So, I mean, it's a big project. I realize
Yeah.
you might not be in a huge rush, but those are the choices in terms of coming back.
Well, in terms of our phasing, since it is such a big project and
Yeah.
all of the different pieces that go into it, it will take some time to make a garage
Okay,
that
so-
feels right here. But I'm wondering can we proceed with the balance of the proposal so that we can create a garage that makes sense to that?
You
No.
don't like the piecemeal.
We can't because it's hooked up. We can't.
Okay.
It's too
Are
important.
you saying you're removing the garage and you want,
Want a separate application for the
and you want to
garage?
reapply when you have a design in mind?
Given how big the project is and given we want your feedback, we're
Then
trying
you
to
have-
do the
They
right
will have
thing.
visual texture, they won't be able to be probably more
That's,
informed on.
I guess that's okay. Is it okay?
If they
counsel?
withdraw that from their application, yes.
Okay.
It is a big project, I think doing it that way may actually be
Believe me, I
helpful
don't
for
think the
us.
garage is the main part.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things we can do
All right.
there.
So, Zach, are you
I think-
feeling pretty good about this?
Well, yeah.
Me too, but I mean, I'm not the historic consultant, so
Well, I
I'm
mean,
listening to
I
you.
think, modifying, a window becomes a door, as long as the overall fenestration is not, being changed in terms. So I don't like the idea of intervening in the original part of the building, except that it's been so enlarged and so altered, and there's even a question in my mind as to whether it's our original anyway. So that doesn't disturb me. Overall, scope, I think, is good.
So council, can he mark up the plan? How can we work this?
Yes, we can, if he requests to withdraw the garage
He could just
portion
take
from
them
the
out of the
application,
plans, actually.
we can have that
Because that's-
crossed
We need a
out.
written decision on this anyway.
Yeah, but I'm just,
Yeah.
I like to, I have to sign the paperwork. I don't want to hear at Christmas Eve that I didn't do something.
Well, no, I'm saying at the next meeting, the first meeting in December, he can have the modifications showing showing the garage being removed, but we can close the application subject to.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
And there were other,
Well, once
minor
it's closed, though, we
corrections to
can't
the
talk
window
about it, can
layout.
we? Closed with the exception
You
of?
can always reopen if if the plan comes in and he makes other
Well,
alterations.
but isn't there a way to simply remove the garage from the application? I would think it would be cleaner to simply, if we're in agreement to close for written decision in a favorable way, I would say, for the main house, and simply remove from this application the garage, that it would be a cleaner
You come back in with a.
process.
Certainly.
right,
Council.
yes, that would be fine. Again, if the applicant requests to remove the garage from it, you guys are more than welcome to move forward with a decision on the remainder of the project.
Do you have to talk to your client? Oh, hi.
Take out the garage?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Can I just ask
Could you
one?
get up, could
garage
you
with
stand up here and say it's fine? Good. I think that would be a good idea.
Yes.
Getting smarter. It's taking me some
You need your name.
taking me a couple of years now.
I'm David Walensis,
You're the owner, sir?
the owner, and my wife Jane. It's fine.
To remove the
Remove the
garage from
garage.
this particular application,
We'll come
so,
back with another application for the
for the
garage.
garage. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And we have plenty to do.
I did have one
Really,
detailed question, by the
If
way.
you,
Sorry.
if you ever want to stop by and see it,
I was in that
You're gonna be
place. With those
You serving
cookie guys
you serving
selling-
hamburgers again?
It was drinks,
I wanna have
it was
this amazing
cocktail, it
hamburger
was
she just got.
fancy, it was
The gourmet
Aspen,
cheeseburger.
it was
some
terrible.
promo.
It was,
I went to that.
It was really scary to try to do something like that. And this is kind of what we, it's just a project for me. We live on the beach. We build a new house on the beach.
Oh, yeah, you got another thing going on with us, right?
No,
No?
we built a new house. It was
It's beautiful, concrete.
concrete
glass.
house on the beach. And we have Two Trees Farm over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
My daughter used to ride there.
Oh,
She's
sorry,
a doctor now,
that's the good news.
and she can't ride.
I
She's
tell
a surgeon.
parents when they bring their little daughters. I said,
Forget it.
don't do it. Get them a soccer ball. Get them a tennis
It's a lot
racket.
cheaper.
Don't do it.
All right.
Tennis racket.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one detailed question. The color of the
Anytime you
trim,
wanna stop
right
by.
now
If
it's
you'd like to see
white,
it.
faded white. Is it going to remain? What's the?
Yeah.
We're proposing, we feel like in terms of, this is something that we've thought about a bit. We feel like it's correct to the spirit and the bones of the house that the windows be the same on the inside and out. And so what we'd like to do is to take the windows from the bright white that exists today to a gray. And I think that the gray we're proposing, we're still, through a series of mock-ups, we might take the shade down a little bit. We would like to distinguish it from the existing white.
The photograph from the brick builder, or whatever it was, appears to be a dark color. Is there any possibility of taking a scrape from something that's original, just to see what it was originally?
I think we can take a scrape.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, because, I mean, it's definitely dark, but whether it's green or dark brown.
I mean, there is the issue that, you know, it's likely that there's one kind of window here and a different window on the other end. And so if it did reveal something else, we'd be in the situation where we're, I guess, you know, we'd be struggling to show, like, it becomes rather difficult to unpack what the correct response is
So
to that.
what is, in order for us to close this, we need to discuss, if there's a color situation, we need to get this to,
Can we do a scrape to establish what the?
well, then that ties the whole thing up.
Right, because then you won't have a color to approve.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Excuse me. Just so you know, we've looked at several.
You need to come up front. Sorry, just for the record. Sorry.
Part of the research for this, we actually went to
Riverhead?
Queens, where you build
Atbury.
100 houses, and they're all over the place.
Right.
Some are light, some are dark. The reason we kind of want to keep it light is with sashes, we don't want to have a different color inside and outside on the sash. And these houses are relatively dark inside,
Yeah.
right? The windows are small. So by having dark paint on the windows inside and out is going to darken it up. That was the reason for trying to stay.
Paint is paint. That's what I was told by
But it would be
the
nice
state.
that while you have an original window, to take a scrape. But I
Well,
won't
we
hold
have
it
to,
up.
if we're going to close this application for written decision, we have to have some kind of determination. Do you have a problem with that? I don't. Can you
I think
just,
paint is paint.
okay,
Okay?
that's good, I think. I don't know.
What color is it?
What are we calling this?
Dove gray.
There you
We call
go.
it Dove Gray.
Call it Dove Gray.
Wow.
All right, do I have a motion to close this application for written decision with the removal of the application for the glass connector and the garage?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
So, do we have the big plans? Can you go, you can go in the hallway and mark them up?
Sure
Would you
thing.
mind?
Yep.
And then we can really, or you could come, there's time. So now you have to reapply. So we would be finished here for now, for the garage, which would require you applying, but it's not, you know how to do that, so I don't think that's a problem.
Can we just to clarify what revisions are being drawn on the plans? I know there was some question about some of the window details
Nothing's
that are
being-
shown.
We're going with his plan.
Just a removal
Well,
of.
no, because
No.
there are, there was the 6/9s
Six
were
over
misdrawn.
Oh,
Yeah,
can you
so-
mark that up?
If you could mark that and the
Absolutely.
removal of the garage and the glass for now, glass
Thank you.
connector from these plans.
So,
Each set, thank you, an initial.
so we're saying house only, right?
With addition one.
With the glass solarium.
Without addition.
Solarium.
You can move that aside.
That's
You can
attached,
move that
isn't
aside so we
isn't
can get to the
Oh,
next
absolutely.
application.
Happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe you could go in, there's another table down the hall? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Thanks.
Next,
Come and see it.
Kofal and Jimenez, 471 Hill Street, amend a prior ARB decision.
How you been, man? How you been?
Good, how's everyone?
Looking good.
Posting and mailing, we got?
Okay.
Yes.
We got? Posting and mailing?
Should be in the file.
Okay,
I didn't check, so I will in a moment, sorry. Let me get this
okay.
put away.
I hate to take all this stuff. I think I found it. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, this is an amendment to a prior ARB approval. Basically, all we're doing is adding some windows to the house and changing the rear elevation. A small gable is being added. So the easiest thing for me to do would be to just walk you through the elevations and point out the changes.
Could I just ask, is this the second time there's been an amendment or the first time?
This is the first time.
Okay,
Want me to find the affidavits?
probably. Sorry.
We actually need to give us a
Yeah,
moment, Brian.
yeah,
because
we have to
don't
make sure we have it before we talk.
It is the Missett.
Well, she had two houses.
Yeah, but it was the main studio.
Did you submit them, or?
My office did. I just flew in from Paris today for this, so.
Oh, so sorry.
Swimming?
So sorry.
Doesn't help.
Do you want me to do half of
Is the
it?
water retreating? Is the water retreating out there, or is it still?
No, that's Paris, and that's Venice.
Oh, okay.
Venice you shouldn't go to right now.
Wait a second.
No, it was
What-
great. It
what-
was the 30th anniversary of the pyramids that IMP did for the Louvre.
Oh, that is
And I worked
cool.
on that when I was right out of
Oh,
college.
that's nice.
Yeah, so it was a big dinner.
Were there any yellow vests? You saw-
No, well, we saw some.
A lot. And there's always, I used to work Perry Photo, and so they always have strikes. It's always the first week in November.
Old date. There's an affidavit in there from the original.
So we don't have them? Oh, no. Typical. You've done that, right? So we don't?
I see the
Okay,
old ones, I see the original ones, but I don't see the current ones.
for the,
Why would the old one still be in the file?
Because it's a,
An amended,
Oh, you're amending it.
because the original approval was a while ago, right?
2017, I believe. Yeah,
That's a
2017.
while ago. It's going to be 2020.
Yeah, maybe it was 2018.
is there anyone you can call to, we just don't see them in the file.
Okay.
So you know what? You know what? We have no jurisdiction unless
That's
we
the
have-
problem. We legally have no jurisdiction to open without the affidavits.
So that's it.
That's it. We have
Well,
to
we have
adjourn.
neighbors here, and we have the owner
I
here.
can't help it. It's the law.
Yeah.
Right, counsel?
That's correct.
Okay.
So are you asking to,
She's
we
no
can't even
adjournment.
do that. Okay. We can't,
Is there any chance that someone has a photocopy or a scan of what was handed in?
he was in France.
Find, I know,
That's,
Have we, and you've gone through that whole file?
you're welcome to look through, but
Well, just
see them.
the rest, how about with those plans? Did you look behind there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Through
I
everything.
don't want to be a second guesser.
And there's not a second file floating around, they didn't create a new one anywhere?
I don't think so. There's nothing we can do.
Okay, so
See you in December.
see you December 9th.
Yeah, go to sleep.
I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do.
Just so I can, because I happened to meet the neighbors when I was out inspecting the properties.
Yeah.
Because there's a affidavit of notice that wasn't submitted, we can't even discuss it. So
Right,
we
can't
appreciate you coming,
You know that the mailings went out because you're here.
Yeah.
So,
But we have to have the proof. It's just
Right, there's no
it's a legal
jurisdiction.
process.
Without it.
It's violent.
So apologies, but we didn't do it, so, okay.
If
come
you're
back in a
welcome,
month.
Entertaining anyway.
What?
It was entertaining
Oh.
anyway.
I'm glad.
you're welcome to come to
I
the
said
next
that
meeting.
political comment. Don't make Southampton look like Levittown.
Okay, well, we're trying not
Being so
to.
rigorous about the size of the box.
Oh, well,
We're trying.
We've
So,
seen a lot of
in any
them.
event, and you folks are here, so you can keep it.
Maybe we should have a discussion here.
all right, next. Casa Meadow LLC, 96 Meadow Lane.
Nice to meet you.
Construct covered front porch with balcony. Step forward and state your names. Or name. Other,
I'm John Woodsman, I'm here for the applicant,
yes.
Casamago. Here is the affidavit of post and mail.
Fabulous. Good
Maybe you can
thinking.
write in
Well done.
the house.
Do you have any blank forms?
No extras, unfortunately. And my forgery went out with my report cards in high school. This is for the construction of a covered porch over the front door of an existing home that was actually built by Lifton Green, who was going to be here tonight. I was hoping to see him. It's fairly simple and straightforward. I do have individual packets if the board members would like.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
I also
No
have
one's
surveys
gonna
if
be
you want to survey.
What?
I also have surveys if you'd like to see the
Yes,
property
yes,
in
we
its full
want all
form.
the information. And we don't want to open up those big things, big plans, if we can help it. Because we hit it.
There we go.
So this is a new house.
This is
It's an
actually an
existing
existing
house.
home. This is an addition of a covered porch over the existing front doors.
Here's the,
When I say new, I mean we're in the historic district.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's
this
in
is not a
the-
historic.
It's next
Oh,
to
not at
those
all.
carriage houses
Yes,
on
That
Meadow
30 years
Lane.
old, but it's still not.
it is not historic in any way, nor does it look.
Yeah, we can see that. Okay. Just needed to get a picture. Thank you.
Here's another one.
It infills an existing space, and it's actually to keep the rain off of people's head when they come up to the door and they can't find their keys to get in, as happened to the current owners.
People are funny that way.
What
Especially
about
when they were
this
waiting on
balcony? We're not, these houses are close together.
Not accessible.
No,
It is
actually, no,
windows.
It's accessible. Yeah.
We actually
There's a hidden
purposely
door.
hid the door because the facade of the house was actually nice, and the introduction of a wooden door or another window on the second floor looked really out of place.
It's underneath the chimney form on the left, on the
Yeah, so
west, east
in a
side.
tight, these houses are very tight together, not those
This is the
little.
north side of the house, and there's a road in between.
I
this and
understand
the
that, sir,
next
but you
house.
can stand on a balcony and look to the right and the left. Go ahead.
Other than that, that's really about it. The railing system is going to be kept to a 1-by-1 picket with almost a maximum 4-inch spread in between, so it's very light.
I was over at the property today, and yes, you can look to the east, but I don't think there's a line of sight to that neighbor. Where you do look over, and yes, I'm sorry, your first name again is?
John.
John. To
I'm
John's-
sorry, I'm so nervous. I stood in front of my own board this morning. I shouldn't be nervous at all.
No, don't. To John's point, there is the road, Meadow Lane, and because of the elevation of this property, you do look over the houses to the north. But
Yeah.
they're pretty far distance away, and then those houses themselves have balconies over the front porch. At least one of them does. So I'm not sure that privacy is a real big concern there, but you'd have to actually look at it and make your own judgment.
How dense are those trees to the,
Here is actually a photograph from the street view across the street, looking up at this house. There's a significant amount of landscaping that's actually in between, and Ed Hollander has recently been engaged to infill some of the landscape.
Yeah, and if you look at the overhead picture, the front of their house is at least 100 feet north.
not the
From-
house, it's the tennis court?
Yeah, it looks over the tennis court, exactly. And the neighboring house to the west is probably 100 feet closer to the
You
beach.
can't
It's
see
not-
that, you're obstructed by the, is that garage over that area?
Yes, the entire west side is heavily
Right.
vegetated to
Yeah.
separate the two neighbors.
So there's not a privacy issue east and west, and then it's only a matter of looking across the road to the north.
And it's really just that one house because of the way the form comes out on the northeast corner of the subject house.
Yeah.
You don't really have much of a sight line to anything other than what looks like 99 Meadow Lane on the second sheet. We've been given.
And it's not that much space. It's surely not going to be a party space, especially why would somebody have a party over that view versus looking out over the ocean?
Well,
I would
I don't
also,
really care.
I would comment that I don't like the way it looks currently. I don't like the inset windows that drop down into the roof line that create the well that you have right now to accommodate the two center windows on the second floor. We have that a lot in the village because
Those
people
windows were
want...
restricted by an interior floor height, and one of the nice things about the porch is it does break that line.
Well, I think those, we have a lot of these situations where we're dropping down roof lines and creating wells underneath windows because people want a certain finished height on the second floor and they want a shed roof around, and
Yeah.
it's an odd detail. So I actually appreciate that that's going away, and I think I do have the privacy concerns, but I think they're mitigated for the reasons Jeff and Curtis have said. And I like the detail of the railing. I think that adds an architectural interest that the current house is missing.
Thank you.
They could have went more decorative, but I have no issue with
I
it.
was prepared not to like this, just because of the privacy issues, which is a concern for us.
It is. I did a house in North Haven with a roof deck that raised the same concerns.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak?
I stand alone.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
There's a neighbor. Step forward and state your name, please. Oh, worst.
My name is R.S. Bliss. My wife and I own a property east of 96 Meadow Lane. We have both gone up to the building inspector's office, reviewed the plans and details, and we are in favor of what they're building there. And if there's any question of privacy, we don't feel that there's a loss of privacy by adding these additions.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Thank you for coming and waiting.
Jaffe.
Yes.
I know, that's such
Oh,
a
you
nice
have the
house.
Jeff-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll be over to
If
visit.
there's any day I could knock on your front door,
You probably
I
can.
love him. He's one of my favorite architects.
Ditto.
Oh, really? Yes.
So sweet, you two.
We have been very happy with our house, and we're
Yes.
very pleased with what's at 96 Meadow Lane now, and we reviewed the plans of what will be at 96 Meadow Lane after the changes, and we endorse those.
Okay, thank you,
Great, thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Bliss.
Is there any way I could get you my contact information in case there's any issues during the project?
Give me a card.
Certainly, I'll get it to you right after the
No,
meeting.
let these people go first.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that being said, do I have a motion to
No, we
close?
still have,
What?
oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were closing the meeting.
Yeah, no, so I'll make a motion that we close the application of Castle Meadow LLC at 96 Meadow Lane for written decision by
Second
council.
that.
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Before we go into the other, this gentleman's been patient, although he wasn't here originally.
Oh,
He's here
no.
for the last sign application. He missed the initial.
Okay.
Can we
Can we do
reopen the
that?
sign
Yes.
applications?
We don't have, we didn't close it, we just didn't. So what is your,
Lab hall.
let's see it. Your sign is Investors Bank,
Correct.
97 North Sea Road, 4 storefront signs, but this was put in today? none of us have seen this. That's part of our,
The application is new to us, brand new today.
when did this
When
information?
you didn't receive the drawings previously?
No.
We did.
I was in the office at noon today, and they weren't there, but
Well, I know we had
Here.
conversation with your office, Rob. was
It's
it?
not our office. The building department?
I know we spoke and found out about the meeting tonight, and they said get the drawings in as quick as you can. They were overnighted. I don't,
We're not,
Okay.
okay, well, we probably won't be doing this in future, but we haven't seen these until now.
I apologize.
that's right.
Okay, so we're just telling you that if we can't deal with it, we can't.
Okay.
Are you giving us options here? I see option 1, option 2,
Yes, sir. You see also the existing condition of the Gold
Yeah.
Coast Bank.
Sorry, I think we need your name for the record.
Absolutely. Dennis O'Hara, capital O apostrophe capital H-A-R-A.
Have any other copy?
And I'm Senior Vice President with Compass Sign Company, and we are the preferred vendor for Investors Bank. They're acquiring Gold Coast Bank, 7 branches,
Wow.
and I didn't fly in from Paris, but I drove in from New Jersey.
Oh, that's fabulous.
That's a good line.
At 6:45, I'm in front of Town Hall,
Oh, you did
and I'm knocking on doors and pounding. I call my project manager. I said, where the hell am I supposed to be? Nobody's here.
And then you were late. Oh, I'm sorry. All
No,
right.
that's- I appreciate it.
So,
This is quite a board to listen to and hear,
I'm
and
so glad you're in.
We're infamous.
there's
So,
4 exterior
is this-
signs.
This is the logo here of the Investors
Yes.
Bank? Okay,
In all honesty, they prefer, we're talking 4 signs.
yes.
A freestanding tenant directory on the front of the building.
Yeah.
And the bank would prefer to go with the dark green option.
No way we're saying yes to that. There
I
you
had to
go.
come here and ask.
No, because that just makes that sign look terrible.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I mean,
We're gonna be-
I'm not saying yes to that.
We're going
white
to be
one
the
would
same
great.
size as existing on all 4 signs, and just remove Gold Coast and cover over with a white panel, if that's the way the board wants to go,
Okay,
with a multicolored symbol.
great.
And it's just replacing exactly in size?
Light for light.
Like for
Not
light.
adding any light, not adding any light lanterns, nothing.
No.
Their font is smaller, or appears smaller except for the capital D.
Okay.
Okay, now the thing on the front, so that's the freestanding. Let's move on to page 3,
Okay, page 3
which is over the
Up by
front
you.
door.
is the sign over the entry door.
Yes.
Just
Well, we
take-
don't want the green one, you're going to know that.
Right.
All
But,
right, we're good with
right?
that.
Yeah,
Right.
white's fine.
I mean, I don't want to cut this short, but I'm happy to say as long as you're replacing like for like in terms of size, and as long as we choose the white option in each case, that I'd be
Well, he
happy
has to
to.
say it on the record.
Okay.
Sign
So
on
now we're on to this, page 4.
page 4.
Side.
The side elevation of the building,
Mm-hmm.
like for like size-wise.
White?
And as the board is,
And that,
Telling me
wait, how
you would
many
like
of
to-
these do we have on the front of the building? Oh, do you have to have this last one? Don't we already have one on the front? Is this the front? Page
this
5.
is what faces the street.
Yeah.
The front of the building, the entry is around back, you pull into the parking lot.
Yeah,
park.
all these trucks parked back there. I don't understand it. All right. So we're doing the same thing here?
Yes, ma'am. And I apologize about the tardiness of you getting the,
No, I feel bad you were outside the
The wrong
town hall.
building, yeah.
Guess there was never, and there's a door sign also, sir? Page,
oh, yeah, that's the side elevation. It's not an entry into
decal.
the bank. That's going to,
decal on the thing, on the
It's a
door with the,
decal.
Yeah.
we're going to take
Okay.
that off and just tell people to please use the main entrance and pointing them to
All right.
that.
Perfect.
motion to approve the 4 signs and the decal on the front door for Investors Bank, 97 North Sea Road.
Just specify white background,
White background on all signs.
Right, I've already marked this up.
Okay.
black lettering.
There you
So
go,
we get a
baby.
second, I'll say aye.
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 Okay.
Yeah, it was. It's a very entertaining meeting, really.
Go home now.
So glad
Going
you
back to
got
Jersey
that.
tonight?
I need help. Where can I stay? Altitude Hotel.
It's going to be expensive.
Well,
Drive toward New York.
Southampton Inn isn't that, I mean, you want to stay
Yeah,
right
Southampton
nearby?
is
Well, I
not.
have to be in East Setauket tomorrow.
Oh,
This
so
is-
the Southampton Inn? I don't know.
Is that on 27?
No, it's on,
About a quarter mile
by the,
that way,
On Hill
by the
Street.
movie
on Hill
theater.
Street, past the movie
Right,
theater.
just right past
Okay.
the movie theater. Try.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Have a nice flight back to Paris.
Yeah, he
Paris
Arms
French.
are tied.
Paris French.
somebody said thank you.
All right, we still have Our Lady of Pull, request for landmarking, Our Lady of Pullen Church,
They've adjourned.
adjourned till 12/9.
Great.
The final thing, where we have absolutely no one left, is the response for the request from the building inspector regarding
3842.
3842 Jobs Lane. I was going to read the law, but I'm not going to because I can't find it. So,
Maybe in here, so that if you'd like, let me see if it is.
I probably have it in here, but I'm getting a little tired.
Looking for 6510?
Yeah, you want to go for it? You read it. Save me some time. Here we go. No. No owner or person with an interest in real property designated as a landmark or included within a historic district shall permit the property to fall into a state of disrepair so as to cause, in the judgment of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, a detrimental effect upon the character of the landmark or historic district. This is 65-10B. So we were asked to consider this. I find it pretty hard to consider it when I don't know the definition of disrepair or detrimental, and I did walk around the Jobs Lane and South Main Street and wrote down an entire list of what I consider to be less than perfect circumstances of buildings, of stores. I do think that it is my understanding that the fence that was put up at the request of the building department, not the landlord just thinking this up out of the blue.
The picket.
Well,
It's a stockade.
I have
Stockade.
some qualm. I think that the fence could be more attractive, but in general, even this building has peeling paint at the top, and as it would be considered in my head, disrepair. So I don't, and there's, on Nugent Lane around the corner, a historic building that's in tremendous disrepair.
Well, look at North Main Street, which is,
And North Main, but we're talking about the village center.
Sort of CBD.
There are many
Just letting
stores that
landmarks
have dead
go rack and
flies
ruin.
and bees and stuff you can see inside. Next door to this property, the antique store had peeling paint, but when I walked around yesterday, they are repainting it. But I would not single this out as detrimental, I guess. I think that I would love it if someone would suggest, and that can't be me, the building department, the fence were nicer looking. But I don't, and I do find asking someone, what is the definition of disrepair?
Again, if it's not defined in the code, it would be your standard Webster's dictionary definition of
Not in
disrepair.
good repair. I don't even
That's
know. Look it up on your phone.
Susan, my sense of this is, isn't that code specifically addressing the neglect of historic buildings?
No, it says
But
Any property in the historic
historic district.
Any
I
property.
agree with you that I
But I
think,
think that's the sense of it, is to not let a historic building
well,
disintegrate.
and there is a
Like ours.
tenant in this,
And it's not just disrepair, but it's disrepair that's detrimental.
Detrimental.
right, well, that's
It's a
the part that's
two-step.
hard to define.
If you think
What's
that
detrimental?
Well,
Like
if it's,
boards falling off that are going to
Yes.
hurt.
Well, the paving, the lack of paving, the brick all,
Well, I was told that kids were skateboarding around the fountain, and therefore, I think, and in there, so maybe the bricks were removed to prevent them from
They're
doing that. I don't know. All I know is if you stand on the sidewalk, you can't see any of that. And that is our purview.
Is talking about historic buildings, one of the things that we never talk about, and just talk about peeling paint, is has any of the buildings been tested for lead paint? Because if you have, now you have other elements where, God forbid, a little child walks around, he's eating, he's putting things in their mouths.
Yeah.
We got to be more, I think, more aware of the hazardous, not only just the physical, the things falling, but also, you have chip paint, you have mold, you have mildew, you have tripping hazards, because I saw bricks that were not in right configuration. There are a number of different things that could cause, over a period of time, someone in injury, which could be detrimental to the village of Southampton.
Health
So-
hazards.
But that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, I think it's all
larger
one. I
issue.
think it's all encompassed into one. If you're going to talk about a historic district, buildings is one, environment is another, sidewalks, I think it's a holistic
I'm
thing,
saying the code addresses that larger.
and it addresses the
Well,
whole.
I think that the request or the language in the code here is detrimental effect upon the character. So I understand your concerns that the chip paint could be environmental, but that's not your purview.
Right.
purview.
That's-
Your purview in this, and as well as other properties that you feel, if you walked around the village, would have detrimental effect, that's within your purview to make that reference to the building inspector.
So it's a
Right.
visual thing.
So,
It's not
but
like a
the,
secret, some of these things.
Well, in which case,
Including here.
I was going to say we're living in an historic glass house, because
Yeah.
this place is
Not
an
looking good.
embarrassment.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's,
So I'm not going to throw
But
stones
one
at
of
the
the
other
things he
one,
said, one of
considering
the
I'm
things he
sitting in
said,
one
which
of...
kind of handicaps us, is that we only have the authority, the ability, and responsibility to report it.
Right.
There's
Well,
no
I could report
enforcery-
lots of things in here.
enforcery power that we have, that we could do anything
How
about
about
it.
others?
correct, you would refer this to the building department or code enforcement, and they would,
Well, this
Make
was
the-
referred to us.
By them.
because
By
they
them.
need your in order for them to write a violation for this code provision, they need the architectural review board to say that it's in disrepair, that's to the detriment, having a
Okay,
detrimental
I'm not
effect
willing to
upon
say
the.
that.
Yeah, but, I disagree. Why would we give a legal
Yeah, we don't have any
explanation to the town,
enforcement.
to the village code? That's not our responsibility.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
agree.
our
I find it
jurisdiction.
I don't think it's a legal thing in that sense. It's
It's a
a matter of
judgment.
judgment, and we're a board
So we're
with
being...
quasi-judicial authority or responsibility, and that's what the code is saying.
Over the historic district
Right.
as well. Your jurisdiction, is bred out of the historic districts. Your ability to issue determinations and approvals for everything that gets done in a historic district needs to come in front of you.
Right.
So if you, as a board, feel that the condition of a property is detrimental to that historic district, then you can make that reference and they
Right,
can be
but
cited for it.
We were tasked by the building inspector with a law that I believe has never been applied, certainly not since I've been, I don't think it's ever been applied. So there you go. So I'm not, my particular idea is there is some disrepair, but not so much to be judged,
It's original. You know what I'm saying?
detrimental.
That would have been detrimental.
And so that's where I'm coming from. How about the other board members? I guess we just have, because we have no enforcement.
Yeah,
But
that's a
that we're not
slippery
being-
slope. If you want
we're
us
not
to,
being asked to
Yeah.
enforce.
letter of opinion just
We're
as
they're
to,
asking your opinion. So if you don't want to give it, don't give it. How's that?
Well, I personally think it's an eyesore what's happening to that property. I think this building is an eyesore that's detrimental to the character of the village. And so I'm perfectly prepared and happy to provide Chris, the building inspector, a list of this building, that property,
Everything else.
and have everybody clean it up. And if you think the fencing is inadequate and detrimental, I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask the building inspector if they can do something about putting in a more fence. I mean, the mayor of the village is asking that people put decorations in the empty storefronts. So
But that's not our job either. We got to stay on task here.
I am on task. I'm on task by the code, and I think I would recommend to the building inspector that by the code, that I think that property is detrimental to the village and the character of the historic district.
But-
I also say this building is detrimental to the character of the historic district.
While we're on the subject.
Right.
Yes, and we need to address that.
It's no big deal. I mean, I don't know what the fine is, but that's not,
But I don't think, okay, I don't want to single out, this was singled out for us. I think we should just be careful that we're not,
if the person that thinks they're being singled out, therefore we would be arbitrary.
that's correct.
Then they have their
No,
right
don't go
under
there.
78 or whatever to
Jeff.
take us.
That's where we don't want to go.
So I'd just like to add, I kind of agree with everything you said. Frankly, if everything else in the village were at a higher standard, this might well be detrimental. But right now, this fits with there are some better maintained properties
Yes.
on Job's Lane and on Main Street, several, and there are some worse maintained, and a lot that are similar in terms of some condition issues and deferred maintenance. So to me, unfortunately, it doesn't stick out. My response in some ways is that I'd like to maybe encourage the building inspector with us as a resource, if he wants to walk around with someone or with code enforcement, to think about whether there are a series of buildings that should be
I agree.
recommended to
But the
do some
question
better
is then,
maintenance.
Is there something currently written in the code that requires the building, or gives the building department the power to now enforce a person to do the modifications, repairs, or
Yes.
Yes, they would write them a violation
violation
Of this
based on
code.
what?
based on this board's determination that it's detrimental to the
All right. So
historic
how many,
district.
So they
then-
would have to write the violation first,
They would write
and
the
then
violation.
after the violation comes to this board for determination.
no.
No,
Around.
They're
no.
asking us.
Determination first, then.
What-
There's,
See, that's the problem. I have a challenge with that because we're putting ourselves out there first when it's really the building department's responsibility
I
to
agree.
enforce that. And if they have a specific applicant or a person or a homeowner or a property owner whom they want us to review, that's different.
that's
as
what
part
they're
of-
doing.
As part of their,
Purview.
well, not only their purview, but as part of their punishment practice,
That's what
where they
they're
want to move forward. Are they
Well,
saying
if-
that?
okay.
Are they saying that? Have they cited this person?
no, they can't
Yes.
cite them for this provision. I don't know if they've cited them for other things,
I
but
don't, we're, okay.
but that's
I
not
agree.
your, that's not.
That's not for
that's
us.
not-
Okay.
They're asking our opinion as the Board of Historic Preservation. What, if you feel that when you're standing on the sidewalk, because we don't have purview going in
We do
the
actually.
property,
You look
do.
over the
Do.
fence,
On a public building, we do
yeah,
have some in the
you look
historic
over the
district.
fence,
It's been fenced, so you can't go in.
but you
Yeah.
can look over the fence.
And this question about is from what you see from where you're standing on the sidewalk.
that's correct. And when I stand
And
on
if you
the,
stand there, or look through the fence, over the fence, around,
you can't see
if
anything
if
except
what
the
you
top of the
see
building.
is detrimental, then you'd make that determination. The building department would then either write a notice of violation, or they then have the ability to write an actual violation, cite the
Right.
property owner, tenant, and then that would require them to bring some sort of corrective action to
But
fix
is it from this is always this, from the sidewalk? Is that where we're coming from here?
Well, you're up,
Well, it's a public building, so we can go, I mean,
In the public
it's
areas.
a public area. It's not
And
private.
that's a large
Yeah.
public area that has brick paving that's been,
We have a little bit more flexibility on.
Well, I'm not,
And I'm sure you can see
you
all
can't
that
see
ver-
anything over the fence except the top of the back of the building. You cannot see anything of the floor if you stand on the sidewalk. It's raised. He also has a tenant, I'd just like to point out. We're not talking about
Well, they can cite both of them.
No, the tenant.
building inspector
But
can.
I mean, there aren't that many tenants on Job's Lane. So I'm just saying, as a landlord, whatever, I'm not down with it. So I feel like there are other, I don't know how to apply the law in a way that I think is reasonable. How's that? Because I don't think there's enough of a definition. And I don't think that what I can see from the
Higher village
sidewalk.
code.
So whatever anybody else wants to say, that's fine. we're just,
I just, simple application. I think the purpose of that is that the building inspector is not assumed to be an historical expert, and that the historical expertise, if you will, exists with this board. So that's why the code says, asks that the board make a determination, is the condition of that property such that it's detrimental to the historic character of that property. So in my view, that property is an eyesore, and therefore is detrimental.
okay.
This village building is equally an eyesore and therefore detrimental. And there may be others, and I like Rob's thought that maybe we shouldn't just be in the business of picking out one or twosies here and there. Maybe we should go out and say, hey, within the village, here are 12 properties. We're not saying to cite them, Chris, but we're saying that they are detriments, and maybe you should speak to the, you do whatever you have to do to make them not detriments.
Because, this is, in order to have an impact on the character of the neighborhood, you're talking about a relative interaction here. What is the look of this property relative to others? And just to restate, my feeling is relative to many others, this is pretty close. It has its problems and deferred maintenance issues. And I'm hard-pressed to single it out on its own as being detrimental to the historic district.
Right. I
And
agree
I
with
would
you.
like to see, I know we're talking about enforcement, which is for someone else to do, code enforcement, but a lot of other villages out here, and I know this is the case in Sag Harbor, for instance, and they work with the Chamber of Commerce on this. You can have carrots and sticks in life, and the code is the stick, and code enforcement is the stick. But there can be carrots done too, either through village officials with proper sort of training or through a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce to let landlords and tenants know why it's important to do some better maintenance. Because if I gave a letter grade to the general maintenance across the village, I'd give it a B or a B+.
Right.
And Southampton Village in the downtown should be an A- or an A, in my opinion. So I've said
Especially
my
when the
piece.
village's own village hall is looking the
peeling
way it
paint.
does. It's kind of hard for the village, whether it be your board or
Set
any
the
other board,
standard.
I agree.
to go after somebody, a private party,
So let's get our house in
in
order.
order.
All right,
I
is
mean,
that?
that'd be a reason for
Can
why.
we?
So this
is
we need
this
to
been
take a vote,
discussed enough?
or-
No.
Yes,
There's no, I don't think no, it doesn't say we have to take a vote. We just have to discuss it.
No, I mean, that's up to you guys if you're voting
I
on it.
personally don't see what we're
today or
voting
not.
on.
I 120% agree with you. Let's get our house in order before we start reflecting upon anyone else's inability to keep their property.
Yeah.
Right.
Because what an
That's a
example
very
we should.
specific reason for
Right,
not.
and if you walk around, you'd be shocked. It's just stuff.
Just saying, glass
Okay,
houses.
so,
Something else you want to say?
No, I was just curious, the
we
material?
have to post the meeting, so don't do anything quite yet. So do I have a motion to, so,
Motion to close this evening's meeting?
yes, second?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Charlie.
thank you.